there everyone, welcome to the Edupedia World 9th grade Computer Applications video lecture series. I'm Upeka Vandibona, and from this episode we are focusing more about conditions and loops. You already know what you can say in a main method. A main method or in a normal method, once you are inside in it, the fun begins. You can say all the normal things that you can say in most programming languages to make the computer to do something using statements. So this includes declarations, assignments, method calls, etc. All the code segments displayed in here are statements. Now let's take the first two statements. Int x equal 3, string name equal Dirk. So both of these statements are variable declarations and initializations. Now the third statement is an expression. X multiplied by 17 is assigned to the same variable x. Now the fourth statement is a print statement, and you already know what it can do. The fifth statement is calling for a method called random and assign the return value to a double variable d. Now the last statement is a single line comment. What's inside the comment will not be compiled and executed. Comments are just for viewing purposes. So if you want to inform something to a source code reader, you can write it inside a comment. Then again, your code can tell the Java Virtual Machine to do something again and again, and that's using loops. For and while loops. So in the first code segment we are seeing a while loop, and in the second code segment we are seeing a for loop. Both of the loops have parenthesis part and a curly brace part. In the while loop parenthesis we are writing a condition, and in the for loop parenthesis we are writing three things: a variable declaration, a condition, and an expression. Inside the curly braces we are writing statements that need to be repeated again. Now depending on the things you have written in the parentheses, this repetition is happening. In Java there are three standard looping constructs: while loop, do while loop, and for loop. Before moving into much detail, let's start from the beginning, the basics of looping. You'll get a detailed lesson about looping later in this series. Until then, let's start while loops. As I said earlier, the loop block is bounded by a pair of curly braces. So whatever you want to repeat, that need to be inside that block. The key to the loop is a conditional test. In Java, a conditional test is an expression that results in a Boolean value. In other words, something that is either true or false. Let me explain this in a colloquial form. So if I say something like, while ice cream in the tub is true, keep scooping, then here you have a clear Boolean test. Either there is ice cream in the tub or there is not. You can write these kinds of conditions, Boolean tests, using comparison operators. Greater than comparisons, lesser than comparisons, greater than or equal comparisons, lesser than or equal comparisons, equal comparisons, and not equal comparisons. Now let's look at few examples. In this code segment, it contains two while loops. The first statement is a variable declaration and an initialization. It declares a variable x and it has the value 4. In the second statement, it starts a while loop, and inside the condition it says x greater than 3. The value of the x is 4, and yes, 4 is greater than 3. Therefore, we can now go inside the loop. Inside the loop it has the expression x equal x minus 1. Value of the x is 4, so 4 minus 1 is 3. We are assigning this value 3 to the x again. So the value of the x is not 4 now, it is 3. As it is the last statement of the loop, we have to check the condition again. X greater than 3. Now the value of the x is not 4, it is 3. Remember, in the last time we have assigned this new value 3 to the x. Therefore, 3 is not greater than 3. This condition will return a false value. Therefore, we cannot go inside the loop again. So we have to terminate the loop and go to the next statement outside of the loop. So this expression x equal x minus 1, we call it as a termination statement of the while loop. If we do not have that kind of a statement in this while loop, this loop will run forever. We cannot terminate this loop, and at the end your machine will be crashed and everything will be stuck. So this statement, this expression, terminate your loop. Therefore we can go outside of the loop. So outside of the loop, the first statement we will come across is int z equal 27. So we are declaring and initializing another variable. And here is the second while loop. While z is equal to 17. Now the value of the z is 27 and it is not equal to 17. Therefore we cannot go inside of this loop. I hope you get a basic understanding of the while loop. Now let's look at a little bit tough one. Public class loopy. So there is a class named loopy. Inside the class there is a main method, and inside the main method the first statement is int x equal 1, a variable declaration and a initialization. After that there is a println statement before the loop, and then the loop is starting while x lesser than 4. The value of the x is 1 and 1 is lesser than 4. Therefore we can go inside of the loop. Inside the loop, the first println statement says in the loop, and the second println statement says value of x is, and the value of the x is 1. So it will print out value of x is 1. And then the next statement is a expression. X equal x plus 1. This expression would be a reason at the end to terminate this loop. Now the value of the x is 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. So we are assigning this new value 2 to the x. As it is the last statement of the loop, we have to check the condition again. X lesser than 4. Now the value of the x is not 1, it is 2. Anyway, 2 is lesser than 4. Therefore we can go inside of the loop. The first println statement will output in the loop, and the second println statement will output value of x is 2. And then again we arrive at the termination statement x equal x plus 1. The value of the x is 2 and 2 plus 1 is 3. The new value of the x is 3. And then again we have to check the condition x lesser than 4. The new value of the x is 3. Anyway, 3 is lesser than 4. Therefore we can go inside of the loop. Inside the loop it will output the first println statement in the loop and the second println statement value of x is 3, and then the expression x equal x plus 1. The value of the x is 3 and 3 plus 1 is 4. The new value of the x is 4. Now have to check the condition again, and this time the condition will give you a false return because the value of the x is now 4 and 4 is not lesser than 4. Therefore we cannot go inside of the loop. We have to terminate the loop and go outside of the loop. And outside of the loop, the first statement is a println statement. This is after the loop, and that is all inside of the main method. Now can you tell me what is the whole output of this code segment? Yes, at the end we will get a something like this in the command prompt. Before the loop, in the loop, value of x is 1. In the loop, value of x is 2. In the loop, value of x is 3. And this is after the loop. Okay, now let's check the third thing we can do inside of a main method or a custom method you have created. We can do something under a certain condition. We call it as branching. A main technique of branching is if-else statement. So here it displays an example of if-else statement. If x is equal to 10. If the value of the x is equal to 10, we can go inside of this if block, which contains the print statement x must be 10. If it is not, if the value of the x is not equal to 10, we have to go inside of the else block, and it contains the print statement x isn't 10. And that's how the if-else statements are working. Now let's look at the next if statement. This time it doesn't have a else part. In Java, else part is optional. You can use else part when only it is needed. It is not required in a if statement. In this if statement, it has two conditions, and these two conditions are combined with logical AND operator. Here you can see the logical AND operator between the two conditions. The first condition is checking whether the x is lesser than 3, and the second condition is a special condition specifically used in string type data variables. We have a separate episode to discuss about this, so just for now don't worry what's in here. In Java, if test has basically the same concepts as in Boolean test in a while loop. If you can remember, when we are explaining the while loop, we use the colloquial example. While there is still ice cream in the tub, you can keep scooping. So instead of saying that, in here we say, if there is still ice cream in the tub, you can scoop. And you can scoop only once. That is because for if statements there is no repetition concepts. We are using if statements only for execute something under a certain condition. And the other benefit of if statement is you can include a else part to the condition. That is something like this. If there is still ice cream, you can scoop, else you can throw away the tub. Now look at this example. The code in the example execute the line that print x must be 3 only when the condition x equal to 3 is true. As above the if statement, we declared the variable x and initialized it as 3. Yes, this condition will return true. Therefore, we can go inside of this if statement and print the line x must be 3. And then we have to go outside of the if statement. And there you can see another print statement. This runs no matter what. In the output, we got two lines, x must be 3, and this runs no matter what. Now look at this example. It got a else part. In the previous example, we didn't had any else part, but this time we have a else part. Let's start from the beginning of the main method. Int x equal to a variable declaration and initialization, and then we got a if statement. In the condition of the if statement, it is checking whether the value of the x is equal to 3. As the value of the x is 2, it is not equal to 3. Therefore, we cannot go inside of this if block. As this if statement contains a else part, right now we cannot go outside of the if statement. We have to first go inside of this else part. Inside the else block, it contains a println statement, x is not 3. And now we can go outside of the if statement. So outside of the if statement, now it contains a println statement. This runs no matter what. So at the final output, we get x is not 3, and this runs no matter what. And that's all for this episode. And remember, this is just the basics of conditions and loops. We will go beyond more than that in later episodes. So thank you for watching, and see you in the next lecture for questions. This video brought to you by edupediaworld.com. Watch more from our website.